This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
I think it's going great. Okay, I think it's a rigged deal here.
the twice impeached former president is now also twice indicted.
I will continue to file this legislation.
Despite being ruled unconstitutional, the drag show ban sponsor plans to reintroduce it next year.
We need to make sure are better enforced to keep illegal guns off the street.
We continue our conversations with the candidates for mayor of Nashville. Tonight, Nashville State Senator Jeff Yarborough.
He's interested in doing a special session. And secondly, he's open to ideas.
And still no agenda or date for a special session on public safety. More in our This Week cover story. Hello again and welcome to another edition of This Week. Donald Trump is indicted again, this time on federal charges, and again he claims he did no wrong. The sponsor of a now ruled unconstitutional drag show ban says he will reintroduce the legislation. Still no agenda or official call for a special legislative session on public safety. We hear from Nashville State Senator Jeff Yarborough, now a candidate for mayor of Nashville. But we begin with history, as Donald Trump becomes the first former president indicted on federal charges.
Donald Trump this morning walking to his motorcade at his Doral resort. The former president riding alone. A brief wave to supporters and a post on social media. On my way to the courthouse, witch hunt.
No is above the law.
Outside federal court in Miami, a carnival-like atmosphere. Small groups of supporters and opponents, present but peaceful. Inside, Trump was arrested, fingerprinted electronically, but no mugshot, no handcuffs. He was not ordered to empty his pockets. In the courtroom, the former president found himself just steps away from the man prosecuting him, Special Counsel Jack Smith, who he has attacked in deeply personal terms. Smith sitting just one row behind Trump. Glancing at the former president throughout the hearing, Trump never once looked back. Smith charging Trump with 37 criminal counts, accusing him of illegally keeping sensitive classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort, in a storage area, a ballroom, even a bathroom. They allegedly included secrets about United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. Prosecutors argue Trump tried to obstruct the investigation by suggesting his attorney hide or destroy documents, allegedly asking the lawyer, "Wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything here?" In court today, Trump saying not one word. His shoulders slumped, his arms crossed, his face stern. His lawyer entering his plea, not guilty. Sitting at the same table as the former president, one of his closest aides, Walt Nauta, who has also been charged, allegedly conspiring with his boss to obstruct the investigation. Nauta at Trump's side over the weekend. He rode in the motorcade today. But at the end of the hearing, the magistrate judge ordered Trump not to discuss the case with any potential witnesses, a group that would certainly include Nauta. After about an hour in the courthouse, Trump and Nauta leaving together, stopping at a Cuban restaurant in Little Havana.
Food for everyone. Food for everyone.
Trump sounding upbeat as he headed to the airport.
I think it's going great. Okay, I think it's a rigged deal here.
And with one final wave, he was on his way back to Bedminster.
While there are a handful of Republicans criticizing the former president's actions, at this point, the vast majority are fiercely defending Trump, who remains the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. While Donald Trump surrendered himself to face charges in federal court Tuesday, his allies on Capitol Hill are not surrendering their support.
I think this is ridiculous. I think it's stupid.
They're scared to death of him being president. That's it.
They hear about other individuals that took documents and were never investigated for having possession of these documents. And they look at the treatment of Donald Trump and they say, all right, something's not right about this.
Before his court appearance, House Republicans rallied behind the former president, who is facing 37 federal criminal charges related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents.
The justice is not being carried out equally.
Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise says the Department of Justice is unfairly targeting Trump.
Did you see a raid on Joe Biden's garage? Did you see a raid on Hillary's servers?
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling to defund the special counsel overseeing Trump's case.
Join me in this effort.
It's deeply troubling.
Democrats say Republicans are intentionally ignoring key facts that show Trump took government secrets home and then lied to the FBI.
The allegations are incredibly troubling, and the fact that House Republicans continue to try to come to his rescue just blows our mind.
Tuesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has been notably silent since the indictment, refused to weigh in.
I'm just simply not going to comment on the candidates.
Just hours after he was arrested and fingerprinted electronically, former President Donald Trump back in front of a crowd of supporters, maintaining his innocence.
Today we witness the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch.
Trump speaking at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, flying there after his arraignment in Miami federal court, where he spent about an hour inside a courtroom, mostly staring at the floor, slumped over in his chair with a stern face and not uttering a single word. His attorney, Todd Blanche, entering a not guilty plea on behalf of Trump to all 37 federal counts, some potentially carry decades in prison if the former president is convicted. Special counsel Jack Smith, who led the investigation, sitting just one row behind Trump, has accused Trump of illegally keeping sensitive classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort.
Tennessee's so-called drag show ban was ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge for violating the First Amendment. Bill sponsor Senator Jack Johnson promises to introduce similar legislation next year if the appeal fails. State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien explains.
When I referred to the law to ban some drag shows in Tennessee, Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson was blunt.
It has nothing to do with drag shows.
Whatever you want to call it, it's currently in flux after a federal judge ruled it unconstitutional, though the Attorney General has promised an appeal.
The law does not prohibit drag shows. What it prohibits is drag shows that are harmful to children.
Though Johnson and Skermetti say it's not a drag show ban, critics argue the language is clearly aimed at that community. The suspended law would use the current obscenity law already in the code and expand it to include a few other terms, including male or female impersonators if they are harmful to minors. Democrats argue that leaves the language way too broad and allows local officials who are against drag to outlaw it.
The law is obviously meant just to be hateful because the obscenity statute already covers this. And so what it's really done is had a chilling effect on our LGBTQ community and our wonderful, vibrant drag community.
The ruling technically only affects Shelby County, but district attorneys will likely take caution in taking a case where a judge has already ruled a law unconstitutional.
Let me be very clear that should a DA choose not to prosecute our law, the Attorney General has the authority to appoint a special prosecutor to go in and prosecute those people who violate the law.
But even if this appeal bid ultimately fails, Johnson promises his fight won't be over until something does pass.
Any year I'm up here, I will continue to file this legislation, and I'll continue to fight for kids and to protect them from this type of grotesque, sexually explicit entertainment.
Now to our This Week cover story. A special legislative session on public safety is 2 months away, and there is still no specifics or agenda. Governor Bill Lee has been quietly meeting with lawmakers the last month or so. State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien gives us some insight into what those conversations hold.
With special session now just under 10 weeks away, Governor Bill Lee has been hosting lawmakers at the governor's residence every week.
My biggest takeaway is that he's interested in doing a special session. And secondly, he's open to ideas.
Memphis Democratic Representative Antonio Parkinson and Nashville Democratic Senator Heidi Campbell made the trip last week.
I think the governor is really trying to get something done, and I admire him for doing that because he faces a lot of headwind.
Much of that headwind comes from Lee's own Republican Party.
His party is not on board entirely with what he wants to do.
At the end of session, Lee proposed an emergency relief protection order to separate guns and weapons from people courts prove are a threat. But Republicans in both the House and the Senate say they are not interested.
I don't think that's the right avenue that we need to be looking at this point. Just because we take one certain type of weapons away or whatever, we're not still giving them the help that they need.
Lebanon Republican Senator Mark Bodie admits he doesn't think hardening schools is the answer either.
Even if we made every single school safe, that doesn't mean that movie theaters or something else would now become the target because we made the schools so safe that we just opened up for everything else.
Instead, like many other Republicans, he's focusing on mental health, which is something Parkinson also says he wants. But he doesn't want it to stop there. At the end of the day, Parkinson says he wants to see something get through.
I'm extremely cautiously optimistic, about that much.
Democrats as a whole have been pushing for more gun control. But as a super minority, those pleas appear to be falling on deaf ears. In Nashville, Chris O'Brien.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment and a conversation with Nashville mayoral candidate Jeff Yarborough.